Hello, my name is James. Today I want to share a story, my story, about how I started to talk in English. You might be thinking, why does this matter? Well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt afraid to speak in English? Have you ever stayed silent because you feared others would laugh? I know how that feels. When I started to learn English, I was scared. I was scared of making mistakes. I didn't know many words, and I wasn't confident. Sometimes I felt like people were judging me. It felt like a heavy stone in my chest. But let me tell you a secret. Everyone who speaks English fluently today was once like you and me. They made mistakes, they felt nervous, but they didn't give up. One day my friend John told me, James, if you want to improve, you have to start listening at first. I didn't understand why listening was so important. But John explained, when you listen, you learn the way people speak, their tone, their words, and their expressions. It's like a child learning from their parents. This changed everything for me. I started listening to short stories and songs. I listened to conversations, even when I didn't understand all the words. I just listened. And slowly my fear started to fade. I remember once listening to a story about a boy named Daniel, who also struggled with English. He would cry because he thought he was not good enough. But one day he decided to not give up. He practiced speaking every day. Daniel's story made me feel like I was not alone. I felt a connection, like Daniel was speaking directly to me. I also met Amelia, who was so shy that she would never raise her hand in class. Amelia was afraid of being wrong. One day, her teacher said, "Mistakes are proof that you are trying." Those words gave her courage. And they gave me courage too. I started speaking more, even if it was just small sentences like, "How are you?" or "My name is James." Every little step mattered. One day I was in a shop, and the shopkeeper spoke to me in English. My heart was racing. I could feel my hands shaking. I was about to run away, but I took a deep breath and spoke. "Can I buy this, please?" The shopkeeper smiled and said, "Of course." It was a small conversation, but it was a big win for me. After that, I felt more confident. I want you to know something important. Speaking English is not about perfection, it's about connection. Imagine being able to talk to new people, make new friends, and understand new ideas. It opens up the world for you. It can change your life. Let me share a memory with you. My friend Charlotte, who was very fluent in English, gave me the best advice. She said, "James, think of English as a journey. Don't worry about the destination, enjoy the road." This advice helped me a lot. I started to see every mistake as a chance to learn. If I mispronounced a word, I didn't feel bad. I just tried again. And you can too. You may ask, How can I become more confident? The answer is simple. Keep trying. Keep listening. And most importantly, speak. Talk to your friends, your teachers, or even yourself. Talk to your pet if you have one. Practice is the key. One day, I met a girl named Ava. She was crying because her classmates laughed at her English. I told her my story and said, "Ava, do you know what makes you brave? It's not being perfect, it's trying even when it's hard." Ava smiled through her tears and promised to try again. If you ever feel like giving up, remember Ava, remember Daniel, and remember me. We all struggled, but we didn't stop. And that made all the difference. Speaking in English also improved my personality. When I started talking in English, I felt more confident. I could share my ideas, tell jokes, and express myself. People listened to me, and that felt amazing. English helped me become more open, more friendly, and more curious. It made me feel like I belonged. Now, I want to give you some tips. First, listen to English every day, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Listen to simple stories or songs. This will help you get used to the sounds of English. Next, don't be afraid to speak. Start with small sentences. If you make a mistake, it's okay. Mistakes are your friends, not your enemies. Also, remember to smile. Smiling makes you feel more relaxed. When you're relaxed, it's easier to speak. And if you ever feel nervous, take a deep breath. It really helps. I want to end with a thought. Learning English is not just about speaking a new language, it's about opening new doors. It's about connecting with new people, sharing new ideas, and exploring a bigger world. So keep listening, keep speaking, and never stop trying. When I started speaking in English, there were days when I felt lost. I didn't know where to begin or what to say. I remember once standing in front of a mirror, trying to introduce myself. I said, "Hello, my name is James," but it didn't sound confident. My voice was shaky, and I felt like I wasn't good enough. But instead of giving up, I made a decision. I decided to practice every single day, no matter how small the step. I started talking to myself in English. Yes, it might sound silly, but it really helped. I would describe things around me. I'd look at a chair and say, "This is a chair. It's brown and comfortable." Slowly, I felt more at ease. Talking to myself made English feel more natural, more like a part of my daily life. One day, I met a boy named Benjamin. He was younger than me but very confident in English. I asked him, "How did you become so good at speaking?" He smiled and said, "I talk to my pet dog, George." I was surprised. He continued, "George never judges me. He listens to everything I say." This made me realize that it's not always about having a perfect conversation. Sometimes it's just about getting comfortable with speaking, even if it's to a pet or even a toy. Benjamin's story taught me another important lesson: practice doesn't always have to be serious. You can make it fun. So I started watching funny videos in English and imitating the characters. I laughed, made mistakes. But I learned. I didn't feel pressured to be perfect. I just enjoyed the process. One rainy evening, I met an old man named Paul. He was sitting alone in a park, reading a book. I was curious, so I sat next to him. He looked at me and said, "You seem like you have something on your mind." I hesitated, but then asked him, "How can I be more confident in speaking English?" He closed his book and said, "Confidence doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from embracing your imperfections." His words stayed with me. Paul then shared a personal story. He told me about his younger days when he moved to a new country and didn't know the language. He felt isolated, like he was in a bubble. But instead of staying silent, he started listening to people and repeating their sentences quietly to himself. He practiced like this every day, and over time he broke out of that bubble. Listening and repeating were his secret keys. This inspired me. I realized that listening and repeating is like planting seeds. Each time you repeat a word or a sentence, you are planting a small seed. And with time and patience, these seeds will grow into strong, beautiful trees. Let me share something personal. I remember once sitting in my room, feeling hopeless. I felt like I was not improving fast enough. I cried silently, thinking that maybe I was not good enough. My friend David called me and asked why I was upset. When I told him, he said, "James, you are looking at the mountain, but you're forgetting how far you've already climbed." His words gave me strength. I dried my tears and promised myself that I would keep going, no matter how tough the climb. David also shared a tip with me. He said, "James, try recording your voice and listen to it at first." I didn't like the idea. Listening to my voice felt strange. But when I tried it, I realized it helped a lot. I could hear my mistakes and learn from them. It was like having a teacher who was always there to guide me. I also met a girl named Olivia who struggled with pronunciation. She would get embarrassed and stay quiet because she thought her accent was not good enough. But one day, Olivia decided to accept her accent and focus on communicating her feelings instead. Her confidence grew, and people started appreciating her efforts. This taught me that it's not about speaking like a native, it's about being understood and connecting with others. One morning, I read a quote that said, "Be proud of how far you've come and have faith in how far you can go." This quote became my motto. It reminded me to celebrate my small wins, like understanding a new word or having a short conversation. Each win, no matter how small, gave me more courage to keep moving forward. I also realized that improving English improved my personality. When I started talking in English, I felt more open to new experiences. I could express myself better, share my ideas, and make friends more easily. Speaking English helped me connect with people from different cultures, and that broadened my mind. Improving your English is not just about language, it's about building your character. It teaches you patience because learning a new language takes time. It teaches you resilience because you have to keep going even when you make mistakes. And it teaches you empathy because you understand how it feels to struggle, and that makes you kinder to others who are also trying. Now, let's talk about some more tips. Don't just memorize words. Instead, try to use them in sentences. If you learn the word beautiful, don't just say it describes something. For example, the sunset is beautiful. This will help you remember the words better. Also, try to read out loud. When you read out loud, you are practicing your pronunciation and you're speaking at the same time. Another important tip is to be patient with yourself. Learning a new language is like planting a tree. You water it every day, and even if you don't see changes immediately, one day you will see it growing. So don't rush. Be kind to yourself and trust the process. I want you to remember that it's okay to feel nervous. It's okay to make mistakes. Everyone starts somewhere. Even people like William and Charlotte, who are very fluent now, started from zero. The key is to keep moving forward, step by step. Let me share one last story. I once met an old teacher named Arthur. He was wise and kind. I asked him for his best advice on learning English. He looked at me and said, "James, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Take that step every day, and soon you'll be amazed at how far you've come." So, my friend, keep taking those steps. Listen, speak, practice, and most importantly, believe in yourself. If you keep going, one day you'll look back and see how much you've grown. If you have more stories or questions, feel free to share them. Remember, every small effort you make brings you closer to your goal. And I promise, I will continue this journey with you.